Okay. Testing one, two. Testing one, two. Testing one, two. Testing one, two. Okay. All right. Hopefully, okay. That's good. Okay. What's going on, everybody? Well, what a long day we had here. Okay. If you can hear me, just give me a one. Give me a one if you can hear me. Tell me if I need to turn the audio up some, but give me a sign that you guys can hear me. Okay, we're gonna wait a few minutes. Just give you guys a few minutes to get in here. I think I'm gonna take it to the other room. Stay there, guys. Stay right there. I didn't go anywhere, guys. I'm moving you guys to my other my other room here. All righty. All right. Let's go. I like the comfortable seat here. Okay, here we go. All right, guys. We're gonna start this in about 1 minute, but today we're gonna just recap today's coverage in the trial of Sylvester Robert Kelly. Today, testimony was it was I would classify as just explaining the chain of custody and the evidence that was recovered from R. Kelly's storage unit. Homeland Special Agent uh, got to understand and testified as to uh, a few things. One, he testified that he had the singer under surveillance in Chicago. Then he went on to uh, talk about the items that he recovered from Mr. Kelly's storage unit. I believe there was 4 iPads, some iPhones, letters, a safe that they were able to open that contained letters. Just a bunch of letters he had stored in there. Some letters that were written by other individuals, but that he had that kept in the safe. Um, in the safe, not even the safe, but the storage unit, there were some questions in my mind about the chain of custody in that storage unit because they accessed the storage unit while R. Kelly was in detention in Chicago. So my question is, who else had access to the storage unit during the time he was as a detainee? Who else had access? Did anyone sign any logbooks to go in, or in the case of most like traditional storage units, they usually have cameras to 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 see who comes in and goes out. I don't even know how long they retain the footage, these storage units, but the fact of the matter is, you still have to know if anyone entered that storage unit, took things out, put things in, because obviously they knew about the storage unit. Now, if they knew about the storage unit, who else knew about the storage unit? Obviously, he had personal assistants. He had people that worked for him. Um, I don't think that he would be accessing the unit himself. In most instances, he would probably have people that he trusted to access the unit. So the question remains, who else had access to the storage unit? So he was the probably one of the longest witnesses that took the stand, that had more of a law enforcement element to it. He also testified. He testified that he pulled he pulled items out the storage unit that pretty much like videos. There were videos that were introduced into evidence. So the prosecutors, they were taking his testimony to show whether or not these videos existed. Now they played two videos today. One they played, it was a 15-minute video that they only play 11 minutes of it, and they only played it in the earshot of just the jurors, the defense, the prosecution, and the judge. No one from the gallery, well, not in the gallery, but from the media were able to hear it. Nor were any supporters who were in the overflow were able to hear it. So um, the judge said prior to playing the video, she said to the jury that she gave basically a trigger warning that what they were going to hear might be disturbing. Now, I guess the trigger warning, was necessary, but we don't know. We never heard what was on the video, and I don't think we'll ever get an opportunity to hear what's on the video unless, as members of the meetings, we can request to hear the evidence, and then they may have a legal reason why they want to keep that part under seal. So yeah, that was just sitting there, just listening or watching them listen to the uh, the videos and not knowing what was being said on these videos. But it was purported that there was one of the videos was with the individual who allegedly had stole or was being questioned about a stolen watch, a Rolex watch. So again, how much weight the jury will put to that, we don't know. One of the things that was revealed also today was that the prosecution is expected to rest their case on Friday. Tomorrow is Yom Kippur, so the court is in recess until Friday. But the prosecution is expected to rest their case at some point Friday. Defense attorneys for Mr. Kelly were told that they need to present their witnesses, their witness list. If they have any other witnesses that need to be added to their witness list, they need to have it into the court by Saturday. We do know that they're going to have witnesses flying in from out of town. We don't know all the witnesses who will be testifying, but from what I've been told, there will be a someone from law enforcement. I'm hoping they bring in the detectives who took the police report from Faith Rogers, because if you recall what I said on a previous video, that she testified that things that were in the police report was not her words. So obviously that may pose a problem, and the jury needs to. You just can't leave that on the table. The jury needs to see whether or not her statements were factual, or whether or not the police added something to the police report. I would just hope that, and I can't really say right now, but I know for a fact they will be calling the detectives in, and I can't tell you how I know this. Just trust me, I know this based on information I got. The other witness, which is going to be a star witness for the defense, is going to be Joycelyn Savage. By the way, you guys can hit that Cash App, because that will keep me on this live a little longer. So it's at a correction. I keep saying at like it's my Twitter, Instagram, but it's a $ Hip Hop Inquirer, just like the name Hip Hop Inquirer. So Joycelyn Savage is expected to testify next week, and she's going to be a star witness for the defense. And the fact that her and Ezreal Clary stayed together at the Trump Towers, as well as they stayed together while dating R. Kelly, she's going to prove to be a pivotal witness for the defense, because there were a lot of things that Ezreal said during her testimony that Joycelyn would have the ability to refute some of the claims that were made. So that's going to be a very interesting witness. And essentially, you would think that based on all the witnesses that provided testimony, there will be expert witnesses called in for the defense to perhaps refute some of the, for example, the doctor's testimony as it relate to R. Kelly's herpes. But this is their opportunity to put on a defense. Now, all they have to do is raise a shadow of doubt with the jury, and on each and every instance where the prosecution had a defense, excuse me, where the prosecution had their witnesses, they have to bring witnesses on to refute the different uh, statements that were made by the prosecution witnesses. They did the ones that they did a successful job in cross examination. They may not have to do that or rehash that, but they will definitely have to, point out some of the inconsistencies with the witnesses that provide testimony. So we're expecting these witnesses to be on the stand for at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because you got to remember this is day 17, and the defense can't rush through their, putting on their defense. They're going to have to at least put on a week of witnesses, while the judge has been very clear that she wanted to, they had to stipulate to some witnesses that didn't have to provide testimony during the prosecution's case in chief. The judge is probably going to ask them to stipulate some of the witnesses in Mr. Kelly's defense. While I don't think it's going to be, depending upon how crucial that witness is, I hope the defense doesn't stipulate too much where the jury doesn't really have the opportunity or the advantage of hearing directly from people who can say kind or favorable words for Mr. Kelly. So before I go further, I'm going to just look at a few of the comments. Okay. Well, someone said something, and I'm going to disagree. Someone said, "Watch and see." There's not going to be. Well, you know something. Based on I'm going to read what the comment is first. They said, "Watch and see." They're probably not going to be uh, any media while the defense presents their case. I'm going to beg to differ in the case, in this sense that we'll be covering it, and I'm assuming you probably is alluding to the fact that a lot of the coverage might have been anti-Kelly, uh, and you might be right, but no, I don't think so. You know why? Just because all the witnesses there are going to be testifying are not going to be coming through using the same method to come to the court that the prosecution witnesses have used, because they typically been coming in a special door. The defense witnesses are going to walk to court. They're going to walk to court. There are going to be a lot of photo opportunities for the media to get their cameras on these particular witnesses. Uh, and I know this to be a fact because unless there are some security risks, these witnesses is going to have to walk just to the court, just like the defense and the prosecution has walked to the court, where the prosecution has been walking to the court with U.S. Marshals, 2 to 3 marshals at a time. In most cases, 2 marshals. And I don't think that there's going to be a security risk for any of the defense witnesses because they've shown up. The defense has showed up with no threat of security concerns. And actually, I said earlier today, I thought it was interesting that while Mr. Kelly has a lot of fans around the world, I would have expected more supporters at the courthouse on a continuous basis. While they have fans out there today, yesterday, but someone that has a extensive catalog and a fan base and sold out concerts like this, I would have thought more people would have shown up. We'll get it, but anyway, those who are joining, we're just talking about this, the case of R. Kelly and the witness testifying today. And I agree. Some of the witnesses haven't. Correction. Some of the fans haven't showed up because of the pandemic, but there are a lot of, New York, there are a lot of people outside. There are people outside, they're masked up. We're going in the court, we're doing temperature checks. But also to get in the courtroom as a supporter, I think they only allow 8 to 10 people in the courtroom as a supporter. Then they have the U.S. The marshals, the federal agents, and they're all in one particular courtroom. And then the media is in another courtroom. But they also they're allowing some supporters, a few, to be in the media room. So, but I'm just saying outside the courthouse, not necessarily coming in to the court building, but to be outside. Just I'm not advocating for people to come out there, but if you look at the landscape of what's happening in the courtroom, uh, R. Kelly doesn't have the advantage of having the supporters inside the courtroom, nor does he have the advantage for the jury to see that he has supporters. Because the way it seems now is no one supports him from inside the courtroom. If they knew the people that are supporting him around the world, uh, I'm sure they know based on them knowing his music. Who doesn't know who R. Kelly is? He was one of the biggest R&B singers of the '90s. But the fact that most jury trials, you have the ability to have your family in the courtroom. The other, the alleged victims have their families in the courtroom. So it's usually the defense side there, a bunch of family members, and on the victim side, there are a bunch of family members. In this instance, it's only defense table, prosecution table. The witnesses are speaking in the jury box, and the jury's actually in the gallery so they can spread it out. So that's how the structure is. But even outside, and some of you guys might have seen a video that appeared on TMZ, where I shot that fans were playing music. I just thought it was a great opportunity to shoot the video of the prosecutors walking up to the courtroom with the fan playing that music, "Step in the Name of Love." I don't know what you guys like that video. I just thought it was a video opportunity. So those who've seen it, that's, and we have other footage. We have some footage that has a lot of footage that haven't been released yet. We're kind of waiting to the defense start their case to release some of the footage, and obviously there's still opportunity for media outlets to come out and cover this. You have a lot of big outlets out there, but I've seen some of their reporting, and for example, I'm gonna call Court TV out. I'm gonna have to call them out. So your anchor is being very, let's just say, biased when she's reporting the witnesses, and while the witnesses are talking about certain instances, but it's too animated to it doesn't match up to the testimony. Because if you're inside the courtroom and you're watching testimony, some of the animation is being used by some of the reporters is just excessive. It's excessive. If there's a high point like someone crying, which that happened a couple of days ago, then that's something that you report. But to embellish on the moods and atmosphere of the courtroom is just a little too much. And again, while the jury's not sequestered, I'm sure that some of those jurors are hearing what's going on outside that courtroom. They're leaving at 5 o'clock, sometimes 6, sometimes today was 4 o'clock. But those jurors do turn on television. They do turn on television, and they have phones. And they, unless the government is taking their phones and looking at their history and what they're searching, their chances are they're looking at all this. And a lot of that can influence the outcome of a trial. While most people think that the jury, judge gives them the instructions and the jury is going to abide by the instructions, that's not necessarily the case. Because there have been many cases on appeal that jurors did the opposite of what the judge said. So we have to be very cognizant of the fact that the way we report can be viewed not necessarily just by the people that are just trying to cover the trial, but these jurors. Again, I just don't understand why they're not sequestered. I know this is a long trial. Some people are saying, well, I don't, they may not serve on a jury, but once you know, you decide to be a juror and you call for jury duty, chances are trial can go as long as a month. Look at this Durst trial taking place in California. That's a long trial. That's going on for a while. But anyway, I'm going to read a few comments, and I'm going to see if you want to have any direct questions that I can answer. Okay, shout outs to, I did see a cash out come through. Uh, like I say, I'm not going to be on too long because we can just reserve the reporting for, uh, for the major outlets. But you guys don't want to drop that cash out, because guess what? It costs to cover this story. This is a big story. And living in Atlanta, traveling to New York, and spending days and days and days in New York is very expensive. Just want you guys to know that. That's something that some of you might not know, but it is. And a lot of times, I see a lot of people reposting my content and not really doing the work. You're regurgitating, you're not giving credit. Um, but shout outs to Hollywood Next for doing a great job. She's a great note taker. Bless her soul. She has to bring a blanket to the courtroom because it's so freezing in the courtroom. And it's interesting that our room is the only room, our courtroom is the only room that's freezing. Like when I say freezing, you got to wear a blanket in there, a blanket or a parka or something. That's how cold it is. But I want to give a shout out to her because I want to say she's definitely doing a great job, and support and much love, and support her as well. She's been covering this from day one, so give her support as well. Okay, let me read a few comments. I see that question. I'm not gonna. I see the question, Latoya, but I'm not going to answer that. You know why? I can't speak for what they do, but they obviously reported something that was given to them. So yeah, it depends. It has to. And the other thing you have to understand with TMZ, it has to reach a level of where it makes sense. And for those who know, I've been reporting an R. Kelly case for since 2019, from when he was in Chicago, from when Ezreal and Joycelyn, and you might see that video where I tried to ask them pretty much questions as they walked out the courtroom. It was a snowy day, very cold day. I almost bust my behind, but I was trying to get the question. And I won't call them goons, but they will. You look at the video, it's kind of nothing's going to stop me from getting my story now. But they were shouting, "Get out the way!" and it's clear, move out the way. I'm like, listen, you're doing a little too much. I'm going to ask the question, and I asked the question to both Joycelyn and then Azriel. I asked them, how they doing? To ask Joycelyn, did she speak to her family? Reach out? Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to ask the questions, but guess what? If they don't respond, that's on them. Okay, let me read another question real quick. Oh, we got to report the defense side. Well, you said mainstream. We're gonna have to see. And guess what? If they don't, call them out. Just think about all the outlets that have reported the prosecution side. And if they don't report on the defense side, call them out. That's all you can do. Call them out, and then you know where you get your media from. Obviously, they each outlet pretty much have an agenda and how they package their news. But if you feel that they have not doing a justice in reporting the story, you got to call them out. That's it. I did that with the Hill when they mischaracterized a witness account, the account of R. Kelly held a gun while demanding sexual acts. That never happened. No, there was no testimony to that, but that was the headline. You would think something like someone like a brand like the Hill would have been more responsible. Again, that's that's a call that you guys have to make when you see the reporting. I'm gonna read a few more questions real quickly. Oh, let me just say this. When Diana Copeland testified, she actually helped the defense. She, the only thing I thought there was a problem for the defense with her testimony was that she talked about how uh, R. Kelly had her write a letter basically. This letter contained details where she supposedly had stole from him, but when asked by the prosecutor, was did you in fact steal from him? She said no. Um, but on cross, the defense got her to admit that there was an issue there that had not been resolved. While they didn't go into the details of what the issue was, it left a question in the mind: did she actually steal, or what was the issue? We don't know what that issue was, so she might speak on it later on. But I thought that might have been a problem for the defense, because the issue there was that they spoke about, it wasn't really clear what the issue was. But she essentially said that she never witnessed any abuse. She never witnessed anyone being held against their will. She did talk about how they had rules that they had to follow, and those rules were, I mean, they were kind of like normal people probably wouldn't have those rules, but you're dealing with someone like a celebrity that had different people flowing through his home, and I make no excuse for him. I don't have those type of rules. You can move around my home, and you just can't go in my bedroom or my office. You can go to play some pool downstairs, but you can't just move about someone's home. And you got to take your shoes off, by the way, you come to my house. None of that walking with your dirty feet on the carpet. The carpet's white, so we kind of want to make sure that it stays white because it costs a lot to clean the carpet. Anyway, yeah. So the rules that he had in place uh, uh, might have been a little extra, but then Michael Jackson, and I'm going to use him as an example, he had some strange rules as well. But she testified that some of the rules that were in place was in place as well because of his wife. His wife had certain rules as well. So again, I don't know how much weight that will have with the jury, because we can't see the jury's reaction. And this is what I hate about this particular trial. There's a few things I hate about the trial that I'm seeing. One, we can't see the jury, and they're not gonna put the jury on the camera per se, but usually when you're in the courtroom, you can see the reaction of jurors and see what effects a statement has on the jury. Like, for example, when Azriel Clary was testifying, I wonder what the jury were thinking as she was giving testimony, or Faith Rogers, or Sonia. And Sonia's an interesting witness as well. Interesting for a number of reasons. And we talked about Sonia, but I'm sure the defense is will have to bring someone on to perhaps refute some of the things she said, or a character witness as to the type of character she is. This happened 20-something years ago. You really have to look at the prosecution is not going to bring on witnesses that are going to shed a dim light on the witness. The defense has to shine a light on this witness and seeing what type of credibility he or she has. So let's just see what the chess move will be on the defense. And just watching defense attorney Kanik, he's a very good attorney. He was a former Bronx prosecutor, Bronx ADA, district attorney, but very animated, very deliberate in his questioning. And the only time I saw that he was getting interrupted is when the judge called these sidebars or had him rephrase his question. And I think the judge in this case, because she doesn't do it too much for the prosecution, but when you're interrupting defense's examination of witnesses, it poses a problem, and the perception of those what the jury's seeing could be a problem as well. Let me read another question. Okay, I'm getting a lot of and shout out to those who have just dropped something in the mailbox. Someone said it's not a trial, it's a TV show. Well, technically speaking, it's a trial, but a production crew's in there, a production crew. I don't know how they got the credential to cover this as a production crew, because I know that for example, in Georgia, when I apply for a credential to cover a trial in Georgia, it has to be from the media. They typically don't let production crews come in covering trials, um, and that's a problem. That's a problem for a number of reasons. It might be a problem if Mr. Kelly gets convicted, because then we don't know what people are a part of this. What I'm told, this documentary Surviving R. Kelly 3, the trial. What witnesses have already signed on to be a part of this production of R. Kelly, Surviving R. Kelly 3? Would that influence their testimony if they signed a deal with the production company? This is something big, because what is testified to it by a witness ends up on a documentary, uh, and they did a deal. That's a problem, and that would influence the way the outcome of their testimony is, because they know they're a part of production, and they got to make it look good. You got to make it look good. So those who have signed on to this R. Kelly 3 production might want to be careful, because um, a conviction is not the end of the road for any defendant. They have the right to appeal. Someone might perjure themselves or have perjured themselves, and they're gonna look at everything in its totality. Do I think? Mr. Kelly has a shot at a acquittal? I I think he does have a shot at acquittal. Why? Because there have been a number of reasonable doubt uh, opportunities for that the defense has raised. So, while the prosecutions has put on a number of witnesses, each witness by itself wouldn't necessarily get the prosecution a conviction. So they had to bring in different witnesses and showing patterns and showing some kind of nexus in this case. But each witness by itself, it's not going to prove trafficking. It's not going to prove it. One witness is not going to prove, or accuser is not going to prove trafficking. So they have to connect all the dots. And right now, the dots are not connected, in my opinion. This is my opinion, only my opinion. But I've been covering trials for a long time. All the dots have not yet been connected. And if you can't connect the dots 100%, there will be an acquittal. There will be an acquittal. And we don't know what the defense's strategy is, because they've heard a lot about the prosecution's case, but they haven't heard the defense. And that if you end with a good defense, that's going to be more powerful, and it's going to resonate with the jury. Let me read another question. I don't know if Lifetime's run by Oprah, and I do understand why you raised that question, uh, and yeah, but I don't know if that's you guys have to research that. I know Dream Hampton was a part. I think isn't that Dream Hampton's production? I don't know. Okay, I see a comment. Jet fly leaks, and yeah, Yeah, older men. Some older men date younger women, but not underage. That's not. That's a no. Totally. I said underage. Remember, I said underage. Please don't attack me. I said underage, illegal age, not. I, hold on a second here. Absolutely. Someone asked me, "Will I be doing an expose report on this trial?" Absolutely, and that's why you're not seeing a lot of my articles posted, just because I'm doing just tweets, and I want to save it for the. I want to save it for when it's really necessary. But yeah, the tweets should be a signal that there have been issues raised, and certain reporting hasn't been addressed. So yeah, that's definitely. I'm not looking to do a book. I cover enough trials. I'm not looking to do a book on this. I didn't sign up to do any documentaries, and but I think that is it's important for us to cover this trial, but not under the premise of me doing a book deal. That's not what I'm doing at all. So you won't see any books coming out of this. You'll see a reporting story, and the you'll see it from firsthand account, covered from inside. Because I see a lot of people making comments and doing videos that are going viral, but they haven't even stepped their foot in the courtroom. They haven't. And I also I seen a. I want to say this. I looked last night at a video of a blogger that interviewed um, Carrie Kelly. And while I don't look at none of her videos, I looked at this one, and it was disturbing, the things that were said in the interview. And um, I also interviewed him as well, and I have some questions for him. I mean, he's showing up at the court and everything, but you did this video, and I don't know. I have problems with that, and well, I can't go into it yet because I do plan on interviewing him again. I did have problems with that video. It was actually a good interview, and I don't, you give props where it's due. It was a good interview, because one of the things about interview, you keep people talking. You let them talk. You don't talk over them, because if you let people talk enough, you'll hear a lot. So yeah, that was a good interview. Um, I didn't see it prior to my interviewing him. Had I seen that prior to my interviewing him, or the direction of the interview the direction would have been a little different. Um, yeah, yeah, I think so. Jade, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. In that instance, I totally agree with you. Doing the most. I didn't see your. Okay, let me see. I mean that Miss Miss Cookie, if you got proof to that, do me a favor. Drop me send me some of that proof to my send it to news. Better than that, send it to tips at hiphopinquirer.com. Send that to send that to my just send it to my email, and they'll pass it on to me. But yeah, send that. I would like to see that, because that definitely is an interesting angle. Okay, I'm scrolling down questions. I'm just looking at some of the questions here. A lot coming in. Guys, do me a favor, turn your notifications on, because I do plan on going live Friday, when the witnesses, or Monday better, because when the defense witnesses will be on Monday. I don't see any defense witnesses coming in before then, but definitely turn on your notifications, share the video. Any specific questions you guys have, just let me know real quickly, and maybe I can answer one or two before I leave. Yeah, it does sound like that. It does sound like that. Queen Diva. It does sound like that. You know, for example, Kate testified that Kate. Now, so I'm gonna read what Queen Diva said. Diva said BDSM is all they are talking about in this case. So I recall Kate saying during you guys might remember who Kate was. You know, she was someone that she was a nurse. I recall. Uh, was she the nurse? No, she wasn't a nurse, but she dated R. Kelly for several years. She was the one that took the $200,000 settlement uh, and dated him after that for 3 years. She testified that they were into the BDSM, uh, and she had actually walked some another girl or woman, a young lady, on a leash. So she said, "Yeah, we were into that." She said it from her mouth. We were into that, and it kind of was, like the defense didn't really take advantage of that when she said, "Yeah, we was into that." I would have hoped he would have on cross said, "So this is something you guys wanted to do," and and you know, because she was basically like, as a matter of fact, we were into that too. So they were into some. It's a lifestyle for some people. Some people are into that stuff. They're into chains and whips and bondage and I don't know. I'm not into all that crazy stuff, but it's crazy for me, but it might not be crazy for them. It's role playing for them, or whatever. Someone said, "Are the dots even connected with Aaliyah?" No, they're not. No, they're not. And that's yeah, Jane Doe one. I don't feel the dots are connected there either. You got to remember this witness to provide testimony, the backup dancer. Uh, this is a recollection 30 years ago, but she couldn't even uh, provide proof that she was actually a backup dancer that went on tour with Aaliyah. And the reason why that she couldn't provide that was Aaliyah couldn't go on tour at the age she was, and the dancer said that she was on tour with her, but under cross examination, attorney Kanik said, "How could that have been when she wasn't even legal to go on?" And she was young like Aaliyah. So how were you able to be a backup dancer on tour when Aaliyah couldn't be on tour? So it was like a lot of fumbling around. And I believe I was on this tour. Okay, well, is there any records of this? Any records that for example, you were paid to be on tour? You know, did they retain these? Someone had to have proof of this. And if the prosecution didn't have proof that she was on tour, it left a question in the minds of the jurors, I'm sure, because when this was a headline story. R. Kelly witness testified that she witnessed R. Kelly going down on Aaliyah. Did she tell anyone else this? That's the other part. Did she tell anyone over this? Was it any witness to present that was presented by the prosecution to substantiate whether she shared the story? I don't know. It didn't happen. It didn't happen in that on that witness stand. But did she? It should have happened then. Not what you say on a documentary, not what you say on a YouTube video. It's what you say when you're sitting in that witness box. Did you say that then? You didn't provide that information. So I would tend, if I was a juror, I would tend not to give too much weight to that testimony. I mean, it sounds sensationalized, it sounds very graphic, but what's the possibility it didn't even happen? What's the likelihood it didn't even happen? So we have to see. Okay, well, I'm gonna read this, and I want to. Someone just said these girls are far from strategic. They are not capable to answer questions from adults without stuttering, and they come. off as lies because they were never able to grow up correctly. Well, they're not girls anymore. Most of the witnesses testifying are 23 to 30, sometimes 40 years old. So I'm not going to, I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that. No. Someone asked you, do I feel this is a RICO case? Not right now. I don't see a RICO case. I don't see why the feds didn't pick this case up. The states had an opportunity. Chicago, Atlanta had an opportunity to prosecute. They didn't prosecute the case. And for example, I spoke with an investigator that worked this case in Atlanta, and they told me from their mouth to my ears that when they went out to Chicago to investigate the alleged I don't know, can't even call it a kidnapping, to see whether or not they were held against their will. That's Azrael and Joycelyn. She was cussed out. The two or three investigators went up there to see whether or not they were being held against their will. She was cussed out. Get the hell off our floor. Why are you here? And basically, yeah, no. All right, guys. Okay. Yeah, I see you guys fighting in the comment section. Stop fighting in the comment section. Let's be nice. Let's be nice, guys. Let's just be nice. Don't fight in the comment section. Doing, obviously you guys have a position. You're passionate about the outcome of this case, which rightfully so, one way or the other, because either they were victims, or it's only two ways this case is going to go: for the prosecution or for the defense. Only two ways it's going to go, unless there's a mistrial, and something egregious would have to happen for the judge to declare a mistrial. But this case can't. Someone I see like comments like this case should be dismissed. It's not going to get dismissed. There's no chance that the case will get dismissed. It has to go to the jury, and the jury has to render a verdict. And if they can't render a unanimous verdict, it will be a mistrial, or they're going to have to vote all not guilty. There'll be an acquittal. It's a lot to these charges. A lot. First of all, again, I don't know. I don't know why this is like a RICO case, a racketeering case, where he's the only one that is on trial. He's the only one that's on trial. You have crime families, the Colombos. You have gang cases that are RICO cases, but he is the enterprise. At what point did he start out being the enterprise, the head of the enterprise? If he can be the enterprise, how many more people can become head of enterprises by themselves, and no one else will come in to provide, to be charged as a co-conspirator? So where are the co-conspirators at in this? Why has there been no co-conspirators in this New York federal case that were charged? So it's there. There are going to be a lot of questions. Some of the legal analysts that have spoken on this case have yet to speak on the possibility that a lot of these witnesses that are coming in may have come in under the threat of prosecution, or suggested that perhaps you can go to jail by hiding certain facts in this case. And that's a lot to do. You got to remember, for Mr. Kelly to fight this case, it requires a lot of resources. A lot of resources. You got to hire investigators. You have to fly witnesses in town. You have to be able to afford to mount a defense as big as this. And I'll show you how money versus the lack thereof can influence the outcome of a case. Today, and I'm gonna go here, but I'm not gonna stay too far on this. Love and Hip Hop, former Love and Hip Hop star uh, Mo Carly Red's ex fiance, he took a plea deal of 17 and a half years for a PPP fraud case. He was facing 30 years, but they convinced him that if you didn't take this 17 and a half years, just think about that 17 and a half years. People commit manslaughter and don't get 17 and a half years. People commit murders and don't get 17 and a half years. Uh, but he didn't have the resources to fight the case. While he stole millions of dollars, he had none of that to fight his case. So that tells you that money influences the outcome of cases. And fortunately for Mr. Kelly, he does have resources and people that are caring about the outcome of his case. So, and Mr. Kelly said himself that he's broke. He was once worth $100 million, $100 million. And just listening to testimony from witness after witness after witness, they testified he spent thousands. He paid for implants. He paid for luxury trips. He's give girls money to spend money on other girls' shopping sprees. I mean, just think. Then touring, and then the fact that he still is able to mount a decent defense. He has good investigators there as well. So everyone doesn't have the advantage of having to be able to afford a good defense, and everyone should, not just Mr. Kelly, all defendants, when they're facing life or liberty, should be able to have the resources to mount a defense, because the state and the federal government has essentially a unlimited coffer to be able to prosecute people. So it'll never be the scale of justice is supposed to be balanced. Like on my ring, it has a scale of justice on it for a reason. It's supposed to be balanced, but it's not balanced when one side has more resources to mount a defense versus the other side. Coupled with the fact that if you're a prosecutor, don't necessarily just have money, you have the threat of prosecuting other people. So my point is that some of these witnesses might have been, let's just say, influenced to testify because of the threat of being a part of this alleged criminal enterprise. So listen, it can happen. Don't think that it can't happen. Just think about all the people who's made money off of this case that are not a part of this case. Like this documentary, like book deals, like potential civil lawsuits moving forward. Like, for example, there's a lot of things that this is not a perfect case for the defense or for the prosecution to win, because there's a lot of influences there. You have the threat of prosecution, and you got an enterprise. You have a RICO racketeering case, but you have no other co-conspirators. So why do you think some people say, why are these people coming in and testifying, Mr. Kelly? Why are they coming in here and testifying? Because there's a threat of prosecution out there. Because when these agents are interviewing witnesses, there's a federal crime to lie to prosecutors. So, and that's obstruction of justice. And they have a lot of them had lawyers coming in. They, from what I'm told, which I know for a fact, they had lawyers. And typically the lawyers sit right next to the person being interviewed by the agents, Homeland special agents, and they're going to, the lawyer's going to tell you, listen, I'm going to let you know the questions you can ask. Typically they don't let you interfere with the questioning, line of questioning, but if I can't protect you if you're lying to the agent. And if they find out that someone's got on the witness stand and lied later on, they could potentially charge them again. Because even after Mr. Kelly's case is over with, there's still a chance that other people can be charged. And they know this. They know that there's a potential of other people being charged. So most witnesses are going to try to be as candid or cooperative as possible for the government so they won't have the heat on their behind. And give you another example. There was a report that a certain individual had access to privileged information as it related to Mr. Kelly's communications in jail. Now, that could have, in most instances, that could have went real south for that person. Uh, but like I said, if the correction guard reached out to that person and it wasn't the other way around, she's protected to a certain degree. If someone sends me now, ethically, I wouldn't report on it because I know that those were privileged communications, and I just don't. That's not me. The way that person works, that's how they work. For me, no. If I didn't get it through the legal channel, or if I didn't get it that it was something, and I've got information that I've said, no, I'm not touching this crap. You want me? No, I'm not touching it. Thank you, but no thanks. Some people have to have that type of level of integrity in reporting, and and I don't think that the person read the letter communication verbatim. So, and people wonder why that person might not have been charged because probably she didn't cross the line, and especially in the fact that someone sent it to her. Now, if there's evidence that she kept soliciting after she got the first piece and said, "Hey, send me something else. I'm gonna run you some cash over there." That's a problem. That's a problem. And then my lawyer sent me the statute on that. But if it's just a one-off, um, then that person is protected. But based on this guard accessing his records 150 times, who else did the guard send stuff to? And why is she so stupid to put a whole job on the line? And why did they let her retire just before she could have been prosecuted? There's some funny business going on here, and I'm not really comfortable the way this is being handled, even from the government's perspective. Was the guard working in concert with the government to prosecute Mr. Kelly? Did she not know that Mr. Kelly was facing a life sentence, and she's releasing confidential information as to his communication? And then, for example, here's another problem. Say the government wasn't really looking at all his communications, but the guard had access to all the communication and sent it to this blogger. And then now the government's going to say to the blogger, "What did they send you? We need to see everything that you received." So they got the information through being shared from the guard. They may not even looked at it. So there's a lot of crazy things happening in this case, and I've never seen a case like this with so many different unfortunate moving parts. And I will be talking about it as especially the defense part, and in their case, not just especially, but I'm going to make sure I hone in on the defense because there's been a lot of things thrown at Mr. Kelly. Only thing that only witness the prosecution didn't introduce was the kitchen sink. And if they bring in the kitchen sink to Friday, then I know they're reaching. We just have to see, guys. I'm just we just have to see. But I'm going to be honing in on the defense and seeing how can they discredit some of the witnesses if they are able to discredit them. So I'm going to be tuned in, guys. I've been on long enough. I appreciate those who have sent the Cash App. I should be acknowledged. I think you guys can actually see it. But I appreciate you guys. Anyone have any last questions? Because I'm about to be out. Any last questions? I'm going to read some of them because there's a lot coming through here. My God. Let's see. Oh, my goodness. Okay, yeah. So Diane Copeland did testify that her computer went missing, and this is important. Diane Copeland, again, I said she was a good witness for the defense. She testified her computer went missing about a year ago, Uh, and I was wondering why they kept on talking about this computer. It disappeared while she was, I think she was in the studio. She told Mr. Kelly the computer went missing. Um, but what we were able to gather from the defense during cross examination was there was nothing on the computer that was compromised, and it just had her notes whenever she obviously sat down for whatever meeting she was taking notes and everything. But it was nothing. It was no videos or nothing on the computer that it was nothing like that on it. But they kept on talking about the computer. I think they were trying to allude to maybe someone stole the computer, perhaps because she had too much information that she was keeping on Mr. Kelly, but the computer never was found. So I don't know that I kept on talking about it. They were just throwing throwing something against the wall and see if it would have stuck with the jury, I guess. Hold on, guys. Let me just read this here. All right, here. Yeah, I agree to that statement. I definitely agree to that statement. Mm, okay, guys, give me a second. I'm just trying to pull out a comment that I think that is really interesting. Interesting. I'm going to say this. I don't want you guys to attack me here. I agree. Some may have lied about their age. Some may have lied about their age. But just to play it safe, when you want to see ID, maybe. I mean, would you just take people's word for the, take their, I mean, especially you being an entertainer. I'm just saying, like someone has to be in your camp and say, listen, I need to see your ID if you're rocking with us, if you're coming with us, whatever the case is. Because I'll tell you something. I was on tour many years ago, like this is the 80s, with a group called New Edition and UTFO. And, I would be taking pictures taking pictures of them performing. But, we're all young back then. And there are a lot of the groupies who would want to come back to the hotel or wherever the case is, to party with us or whatever the case. Um, and we just give them a phone number to or the address where the hotel is, and they just come by. That was something you got to remember. And I say this: what is done, like Gen Z move different than Gen X, that move different than the baby boomers. Everyone moved different in their era, so it's important that even with this trial, that these jurors during their voir dire questioning, they have to be asked certain questions because what your parents did, you wouldn't do, and what their parents did, they probably wouldn't do. And we got to put things in perspective. Like there were families that were getting, there were like, there were mothers and that would get married at, they got, had a child and they got married at a young age because you weren't coming back home not being wedded. So that's not, this is not the situation with Mr. Kelly, but I'm just saying that people back in 30, 40 years ago, the age difference were, and some of you out there that have parents that are about maybe 60, 70 years old, you know, ask them, what age were they got married or when they had you or whatever the case is. People did things different back then. It wasn't as taboo as it now. Yeah, but dating underage, yeah, that's always been taboo. But their parents, they were age difference. There's a big age difference. You know, like for example, my mother had me when she was 17. So there was a difference. back then, you know. So anyway, uh, let's see what we got going on here. These are some good comments coming in. Okay. That's true. I agree with you, Patricia Woodard. I agree with you. Their parents bringing their daughters to these shows after Mr. Kelly's first trial. They were still bringing their kids to these shows. I have 5 girls. Ain't none of them been to R. Kelly show. I have 5 girls. None of them been to R. Kelly show. Um, nor did I take them to a show. Um, for one of the big reasons, they probably wouldn't listen to his music anyway. You know, so I, I mean, I don't know. I don't move like that. But again, he's an entertainer. He's a world renowned entertainer, and he attracts a big fan base. And there were people that were attracted to him for a number of reasons, for opportunities, for deals, for like there were some people there that had presented him some interesting opportunities. So like you're a parent, you bringing you bringing your child to a Elvis Presley concert, or bring your kid to a Playboy Mansion party. I mean, you gotta look at the parents sometime too. Unfortunately, you gotta look at the parents too. You know, you know, it's things I want to talk about now, but I just can't talk about just yet because this case is still going on. And believe me, I've talked to a lot of different people in this case, but certain things I just can't talk about right now. And I do have some concerns. And I appreciate those who are just being patient. There will be a time, but I don't want to do anything that will influence the outcome of this case unless it's factual. My opinion, to a certain degree, is not needed right now. It's not needed. But if people are coming to impede or obstruct the outcome of this case, then I'm going to call them out. And if someone sent me a video that I have a problem with, but if you're going to impede or try to influence the outcome of this case criminally, that's going to be a problem. You know why? Because he does have a right to a fair and impartial trial. And let's not just, like anyone else, like someone in your family can be experience a similar situation. It happens. But just let the man get his due process, and I agree, and and as long it's a lot that's happened right now that I see things that are going to be appealed to. I've seen things that they're going to, if he gets convicted, they're going to they're going to have a means of appealing it. But it's just so much going on, like for real. Like, you just all these unnecessary sidebars is a problem. I cover a lot of trials. I've never seen in my 30 years this amount of sidebars. I've covered federal trials, I've covered criminal trials, I've covered civil trials, high profile trials. And just think about the O.J. Simpson trial. Judge Ito or Judge Alito in the O.J. Simpson trial didn't call all these sidebars. This was a double homicide. He didn't call all these sidebars. It's the judge, it's the lawyers who have to object, and it's the judge who has to sustain or overrule. But you're calling a lot of sidebars in a federal trial where someone is potentially facing life in jail. It doesn't happen. I'm telling you guys, it doesn't happen in a lot of cases. It doesn't. Search my videos for trial coverage, and I guarantee you these judges are not calling a voluminous amount of sidebars when it's to the disadvantage of the defendant. Because if I'm sitting there as a juror, which I was a juror before, and I'm seeing the interruptions by the judge, it makes like the defense is incompetent in answering questions. Just trust what I'm telling you. It doesn't happen. You guys look at trials on TV. I look at trials from the courtroom. It doesn't happen. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't happen. And if I see unfairness and you defense attorneys and you lawyers out there, you know what I'm talking about. There's been a case. It was a case where a judge called to me sidebars and the case was overturned. So I'm telling you that what I'm seeing in this courtroom, and Judge Donnelly was an Obama appointee, by the way, but these sidebars are getting ridiculous because when you have a witness that he has on the ropes and the judge sees it, and wait, let me call a sidebar. Let's come on here, let's talk about this. Get the hell out of here. Let him ask the question. Let the judge, the lawyer, answer with the objection, Your Honor. Objection, not a sidebar, so the objection won't happen. No, let the lawyers do their job. You have competent, skillful attorneys in the courtroom. Let them do their job. Stop calling so many sidebars. That's the issue I have. So yeah, I'm gonna point out some of the things that I see that's happening in this case, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm passionate because I love covering trials, and if I cover enough of them, I see enough of them, and I know that this is not the normal course of business. Someone's probably abusing their authority. And when you're a federal judge, you have a lifetime appointment unless you're impeached. State judges, you got to be voted in and voted out. But when you're a federal judge, you have a lifetime appointment. It's just the lawyers. And here's one last point. I promise I'm about to go. If the lawyers don't get a chance to call an objection to a line of questioning, guess what? Then you can't make the argument on appeal because you got to object to something. One of the things on appeal is, did he raise that objection during questioning? No, he didn't raise it. Well, guess what? You're not getting rid of a habeas corpus. You're not getting a overturn of a judgment. And it's different elements that has to be in play. So when judges call sidebars, they take away the ability for that lawyer to use his strategic or her strategic approach to examining witnesses. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Judge Ann Donnelly, chill with all of this sidebars. These lawyers are competent. You had pre-trial, you had motions, you had pre-trial rulings, but when you're calling a voluminous amount of sidebars, it's distracting and it throws the person, the lawyer, off his A game or her A game because now you've already injected yourself in a position where you really shouldn't. Why are you supposed to rule on the law? But let the man ask the question. Then we know whether or not she's going to object. Because I say she because there's only three on the prosecution. They're only female prosecutors. Stop calling so many sidebars because you too can be questioned down the road. That's all, guys. I'm done. I appreciate you tuning in. We did a whole hour, and this is a long live. This is probably one of the longest lives I've done. Absolutely, I agree with you. Jet fly leaks. I agree with you, but hey, I can't. I understand where you're coming from, but guys, I appreciate you being here. Follow, subscribe, share. Let's just pray for everyone involved in this case that this case is resolved in the most equitable fashion. That's all. That's all I say. Let's just any journalists, your reporters out there, they're not coming to the court and you're not reporting from inside the courtroom, but you're giving your opinion and so forth without hearing part of the evidence and not seeing the testimony from your own eyes. You're doing yourself and your viewership a disservice because right now you're shoveling bullshit. You're shoveling BS to your viewers. Just bring your butt down to the courthouse. Just come on, you guys. A lot of you guys have resources to do it. A lot of you guys have resources to do it. I know. Even some of you blogs have a lot of resources. It's disheartening to see people don't want to use their resources to come out and cover this and put a honest, unbiased approach to it and just listen to it. Because the things that make you laugh today may make you cry tomorrow. So please come out and cover it. That's all. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let me get out of here. Let me get out of here. All right. Thank you.